One of the biggest mistakes that businesses make is sending the same message to absolutely everybody in their audience. So that happens across all channels, whether it's Meta ads, Google ads. The biggest example is sending out newsletters to your email list. A lot of businesses send out the same generic one size fits all message to everybody, and that is a recipe for failure. So in this video, I'm going to show you how we use Clay to personalize every single message to every single recipient based on what their company does. This is just one of the simple automations that we do to personalize messages. Of course, we could use their LinkedIn posts, their recent company news, any funding information, and a whole plethora of other signals. But in this example, I'm going to show you what we do just based on traits of the company. So the key thing to have in order to do this is the company description. So the personalizations that I'm going to show you in this video are all based on the company description. So you'll see that we have two tables in this Clay workbook. The first table is the upload of a list that came from Apollo, and the second table is where all of the personalizations and enrichments happen. The reason why I like to do it this way is because when we're building, we like to make sure that we are testing every single prompt and every single column. And in order to do that efficiently, what I like to do is first have the uploaded list with no enrichments in it, and then just have a send table data column like you can see on the right here, where we just send 100 rows at first, and that should be enough data for us to test on. It also makes sure that if there are any issues with the prompts, any prompts that we're building out, then we're able to rewrite them, test them, get them working how we want them to, and outputting the exact results that we want without running it on thousands and thousands of rows, which would eat up your OpenAI tokens and also take you way more time for it to finish processing all of those leads. So here's the first thing we do. We look up other person in the same table. So you can see that in the first row, we have 8 people in the same company. So this is just using the domain or the company LinkedIn URL. Okay, we're using domain. And we're looking at results in the same table. And so we're finding all the people who are at each company. So there's 8 people in the first company, 1 in the second, 4 people in the third company. And so what we then do is we run an enrichment to find out the name of another person. So we're saying, tell me the name of another person in this list of, like, for example, 11 records here that is not the same name as this guy. So you can see on row 9, the person's name is John Sutton, and there are 11 people in his company in this table. And so the name that it output is Eric Samdal, okay? So that is another person that we can reference in our email to make it look as though it was not just blasted out to 5,000 people. If another person is not found, for example, in row 2, where there's only 1 record found, it outputs no other person. And if you're wondering why a lot of these are empty, that's because the run condition was not met. Basically, it's because their email address is not okay. So from there, we have the other person's full name, we normalize it to make sure that we can use it in an email and it's going to sound natural and normal. From there, we generate the other person opener. So it says things like, not sure if this falls under you or Brad Christensen, or not sure if I should reach out to you or Eric Samdal, but. Okay, so that's a great opener that looks highly personalized, looks like it was actually manually sent rather than blasted out to thousands of people. Then we have the company description merged. So what that means is if the company description was not present for a company, or if it was under 20 words, for example, then we use Clayagent to get a decent company description that we can use. And then we merge the results of the Apollo company description with the Clayagent company description, and then we have company description merged as the final description that we use for all of these outputs that I'm going to show you. So the first thing we do is we output the company type in the plural form. So for example, veterinary clinics, healthcare providers, human capital practitioners. That one's a bit strange, but we're basically saying refer to this company exactly how they refer to themselves. So if you were to read this company description, you'll see that this company refers to themselves as human capital practitioners. Therefore, when we're reaching out to them, we want to address them with exactly the same terminology that they use to describe themselves, right? So we get that. Then we have their ICP. So their ICP, for example, is clinical laboratories, pet owners, HR professionals, clean room operators. So this is highly personalized when we're talking about who they want to reach or who their ideal customer is. We then generate what they do. So let's have a look at some of these. Optimize lab workflows to deliver fast, accurate pathology results. Choose and install flooring that fits family homes and budgets. We have 2 steps for this because the first step generates what they do with AI, but a lot of these outputs can be not ideal, not worded in the best possible way. So then we have a second step that polishes what they do in order to get a more natural sounding output that we can actually use in the emails. And we want to keep this to a certain length. So you'll notice that the what they do step 1 is generally longer than the final what they do step. That is key to making sure that your sentences don't become too bloated and too long. We then have a step that forms a part of a sentence called does USP what they do. USP means unique selling proposition. So in this case, we are generating what they do again, but this time we are doing it in a way that is speaking to their unique selling proposition. So what they do that's unique, that's different to their competitors. So for example, you can see that this output here says access care for pet vaccinations and wellness, whereas this sentence, where it's using the USP, says helps pet owners access convenient wellness and minor illness care. So it's speaking more specifically to what this company does than the general one. And that's so that we can have variety in the messaging if we need to use the same kind of sentence structure again later on in the email. We want to make it look like we've really done our research on them. Next, we have a sort of reaction to what they do. So imagine the opening line of a sentence. I'm not sure if I should reach out to you or John Smith, but I saw that your company does this thing for these types of ICP. And then we have an impression or a reaction to that. So families must really appreciate the easy access to quality care. This again is so personalized that it looks like, again, it's just not something that would be blasted out to thousands of people. It's tailored to every single recipient based on exactly what their company does and who their ICP is, and the feeling that their customers must feel after receiving great service from them. All of what I've showed you so far is all customizing the opener, which is the attention-grabbing part, obviously after the subject line, which we'll get to in a minute. But all of this stuff that I've showed you so far is purely for the opening paragraph or sentence in order to show them that you've done your research, you understand what they do, and you respect what they do, right? Next, we have what we're calling a buyer-flavored audience. Now, this is basically, you have your ICP. We've already discussed how we formed the ICP earlier on, which was here. For example, clinical laboratories, pet owners, families with children. These are all just very succinct descriptions of who their ICP is. This time, we're generating the buyer-flavored audience. That means who is their ideal types of ICP. For example, laboratories needing reliable diagnostic efficiency, busy pet owners seeking convenient care, families wanting stylish home updates. Here's an example of all that put together. I wasn't sure if I should reach out to you or Brad Christensen, but I really like how your team helps marginalized communities access healthcare with cultural respect. I'm sure clients value that commitment. And then we have the subject line. So for our subject line, we have a prompt that we're using to basically just generate a curiosity-driven subject line that is succinct. It's usually 2 words, sometimes it's 3, but it speaks to exactly what they're interested in as a business. What kind of customers are they interested in? What kind of inquiries are they interested in receiving? what kind of projects do they want to do. We're not sending out a spin text version of subject lines with 6 different variations to thousands of people. Every single recipient would receive a very different subject line. From there, because we're combining different AI outputs from different columns in this table, sometimes there might be repetition, sometimes the flow of the sentence might sound odd or unnatural. So we have this prompt here that polishes that input and produces a more natural sounding output such as this. We have their ideal inquiry type. So different businesses and different industries refer to inquiries using different terminologies. So some businesses might say checkups, others might say appointments, law firms might say case evaluations or consultations, right? Hopefully this has given you some ideas on the lengths that you can go to personalize your emails, as well as showing you how to make the output seem as natural sounding as possible. So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're looking for help for us to generate these kind of workflows that generate hyper-personalized messaging to every single recipient in your list, then click the link below this video and schedule a time to chat, and let's see if there's a fit to work together.